This is the 6th part to a series, so if you haven't watched the other parts, I'd recommend doing so. You can find the link to the playlist in the little eye icon in the upper right corner, or you can watch a quick rundown of what's happened in parts 1 through 5 by clicking on the link in the description. Ohio's army had disobeyed orders and decided to continue fighting with the intent to destroy the MWW's army. However, as we all saw coming, things went poorly. A hurricane caused by the Seatime War blew over France with 100-mile-per-hour winds, hail, and frequent lightning. The entire army collapsed due to panic and loss of leadership. The MWW had taken heavy losses but managed to keep the remaining troops alive due to a preparation in a town nearby that they'd stayed in. And, to make matters worse, Britain had created the device that they could use to render Ohio's threats of pouring tea into the ocean useless. They redeclared war on Ohio and joined the MWW once again with a bigger navy than before and more preparation on how to fight against Ohio's navy. Ohio had pulled back its navy and could only watch as the enemy forces slowly moved towards North America, taking back countries that Ohio had taken. Within a week, the MWW was on Ohio's doorstep and Ohio had only its air force and navy to defend itself. Ohio was preparing itself for the attack when suddenly a majority of the MWW's army and navy pulled back, leaving only a part of it behind. What happened? Well, Taiwan wasn't satisfied with only China. They had taken over nearly the entire continent of Asia and had begun to press into Europe, causing the MWW to pull back and defend themselves from the attack. While the MWW was distracted with Taiwan, Ohio began to carry out its plans, silently. Meanwhile, not silently, the Seatime War continued. Atlantis and Sealand still fighting each other, no signs of victory for either. Their fighting was causing changes in the weather and ocean currents. One of these changes caught an iceberg and forced it into the 5th recreation of the Titanic. The other 3 modern Titanics had all been sunk by icebergs, but no one seemed to learn that recreating it was a bad idea. This Titanic sank on top of the city of Atlantis, damaging the bubble it was enclosed in. Atlantis realized they were taking in more water than they could stop, so they prepared to play their trump card. Meanwhile, Taiwan was pushing the MWW back and taking over more and more land. While that was going on, Ohio finalized the explosives. Then, all in an instant, everything changed. Atlantis pulled the plug on the ocean with the intent to destroy Sealand. The major currents pulled the island of Taiwan around the continent of Africa and into the Atlantic Ocean. Ohio set off the explosives, releasing an iceberg the size of Texas into the ocean. It too got caught by the currents and was pulled towards the drain at high speeds when it got pulled down and replugged the hole. When the dust settled, it was revealed the world's geography was forever changed. Florida had been pulled and gotten stuck between Japan and West Taiwan, making Japan no longer an island. Taiwan was now stuck in the Atlantic Ocean and was promptly taken over by Atlantis when Atlantis' city had been destroyed due to the drain. Iceland and Greenland had somehow changed positions, although no one could figure out how. Ohio was fuming because the iceberg wasn't meant to plug the hole, but rather slide across Europe, crushing everything in its path. Hawaii was pulled into the gap between California and North America, making it so that California was no longer an island, but part of a continent. West Taiwan became its own democratic government once Taiwan was taken over, and Sealand was nowhere to be seen. It was assumed that Atlantis' plan was successful and they were pulled down the drain. The world was changed, but in whose favor? Would Ohio be able to beat the MWW, or was I lying on the first part where I mentioned that Ohio had control of the Milky Way galaxy? Who knows? I certainly don't. That's a lie. I do. But if you do want to find out, then you should really consider subscribing and liking the video.